Two more.
Whole book, huh?
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Okay, MFT, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of MFT over standard products. This is just showing our motor technology timeline, where we came from, conventional DC motor, up to our current generation, our Belimo sensorless, brushless DC motor. There's a lot less failures with brushless DC motors than there were with the old conventional DC motor. One of the things you can do with the MFT actuators is you can set your minimum, mid, and maximum travel positions. I don't know if it's even in this section anymore. Somewhere in some of these things haven't been accurate. But in the book, we do have programming codes listed. And I know it's hard to see from back there, but we have some programming codes that are no charge. So obviously our standard default 2 to 10, there's no charge for that. 0 to 10, there's no charge. Actually, like I said earlier, 0.5 to 10. But then if you get to some different ones like 6 to 9 volt, there's a $34 list price charge for that. So there's a couple different things. If you have a whole building where you have some unusual values that have to be plugged in, there's a couple of different ways to do it. One, you can order it and pay the additional charge for each of the actuators, or you can order a standard MFT actuator, standard default, and purchase the programming tool. It all depends on how much time you have to do the programming. If it's more efficient and effective for you to have us program it and pay the little bit additional, or if it's easier for you to just program it yourself. In the accessories section, at the back of the damper actuator section, the first page talks about the MFT accessories. So we talked up here, this is the software, some of the connections that are available. Then down here at the bottom, this is the ZTH Gen, the little handheld tool I was talking about that we have. Like I said, in most instances, the handheld tool is probably the best for you guys out in the field. If it gets to a point where you need to look more deeply into something that maybe the actuator's not working properly, give Jackson a call. They can call me. I'd be happy to come out with the software tool. But if you want to go with the software, that's fine. It does cost a little bit more to do that than the handheld tool. This is a screenshot from the software. You see here, designation, position. Those are 2 free text fields. So you can put in whatever you want, like it shows Bob's test here. You could put in age, U1, whatever the case may be. Do the various drop downs, you can change the programming of the actuator. As soon as you change one of these drop downs, this actuator with the green check will turn into an actuator with a red X. Reason for that? It's telling you, okay, you changed something on here. It's not the way it was when you first set it up. What do you need to do then? Well, if that change you made was what you wanted made, then you click on write, and then that will program the actuator. And after a few seconds, you get the green check mark. There's also a service tab that, last one, doesn't have it circled, but it's the configuration tab that we're opening on here. The service tab, the main thing you need to know here are the 2 pieces at the bottom, the data log and the messages. So if you were to be having a problem with one of the MFT actuators and you hooked it up to the MFT tool, we most likely have a message down here saying what was happening, like mechanical overload, something of that nature. And there could be multiple problems. And if there's multiple, then multiple messages will appear. And they will stay resident in that actuator until you click reset messages. The other thing that is good is this data log. The stop-go ratio is something that we look at if there's a problem with these actuators. And I had a school district up in Michigan where this came in real handy. They had 3 valves in the school where they were having some issues with the actuators. They didn't have MFT actuators on them initially, but even the control guys that were controlling school, they were wondering if maybe the PID loop was set too tight, and maybe they were trying to control it too tightly. So what we did, we took, the actuators were still under warranty, we took the actuators back, gave them some new MFT actuators, replaced the non-MFTs they had out there. Let those run for a few months, came back, hooked them up to the MFT tool, found that 2 of them were working just fine. They didn't have, a real high stop-go ratio. We like to see that. We like to see it stay under about 10%, but as long as it's under about 20%, the actuator should last its normal life, 15, 20 years. Once it starts getting over 20%, then you're going to start shortening the life of the actuator. So out of those 3, 2 of them came back normal stop and go ratios, and for whatever reason, they never had another problem with those actuators. The 3rd actuator, though, it was up at a stop and go ratio of about 35%. So then when we went out to look at that actuator, or that valve actuator, what we found is that that was in the teacher's lounge, and we were talking to some of the maintenance guys at the school, and they said, oh yeah, said every teacher that comes in there wants it to be a different temperature, so they adjust it. So they said it makes sense that one has a lot more movement than any of the other ones. So, with that, there's not a lot we can do. If they keep adjusting the temperature up and down, it's going to shorten the life of the actuator if you keep moving it that much. But the other 2, actually, I haven't even heard of them having a problem with that one in the teacher's lounge after we put the MFT in there. But we did identify that it was certainly moving a lot more than the others. So that's a nice feature of the tool. You can also run a simulation. You can plug in a value that you want to try and get to. For example, say you have an actuator and can't seem to get it to go past 50%. But you can come into the tool here and plug in that you want it to go to 75% and see if it drives to the 75% by watching it on the trend down here. Hey, but you can watch it up here as well, as far as actual position. This trend can then be emailed out. Maybe your boss has asked you to look into this. You run this little test, shows that the actuator is able to get past that 50%. Email it off to whoever asked you for the information and say, well, if we just plug in the value with the Belimo software tool, it will go past there. So maybe there's some type of wiring problem between the actuator and the control system. Any questions? So this is basically what we've gone through so far today. We talked about the various control types, nomenclature, actuator types, sizing, the mounting and wiring, and an introduction to MFT. Any questions on any of that? No? Well, some additional resources that we do have. I've mentioned a couple times the website, and I'll show you that in a minute. We do have our customer support teams, one in Danbury, Connecticut. They're the ones that